Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure and honor, my delight to introduce Charmae Sanders this morning. I heard Charmae speak during the Lake Michigan College Martin Luther King Jr. week in January, and her passion for assisting at-risk students succeed in college inspired me to invite her to share a message with us today. Charmae grew up in St. Joseph. She graduated from St. Joe High School and is currently the director of Lake Michigan College's Start to Finish program, which she'll tell us a little bit more about this morning. She is a member of the Second Baptist Church in Benton Harbor. And after our breakout rooms this morning, Charmae has agreed to stay for Circle Talk for additional discussion. So please join me in welcoming Charmae Sanders. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone. First, I just wanted to talk about who I am and what Start to Finish is. So Start to Finish is a program that was started because students from the Benton Harbor Promise Schools, that's Benton Harbor High School, Countryside Academy, and Dream Academy, were starting to receive the Benton Harbor Promise Scholarship, which is a last dollar scholarship that helps them fund 2 years at a community college. As we started to get more students at LMC from the Benton Harbor schools, we realized that the students were struggling. So they started Start to Finish, which is an academic support program just there to help students with their barriers so that they can focus on and be successful in school. To give you an idea about Start to Finish, in the 5 years prior to the program, we had 5 graduates from the Benton Harbor Promise schools. In the years since Start to Finish started in 2012, we have well over 50 plus graduates. We have students that have gone on to study at Western Michigan, at Central Michigan, Ferris, Michigan State, which is my alma mater. So that makes me very happy that we have students that have gone on to Michigan State. To give you a little bit of my background, my parents grew up in the South during the time of the Civil Rights Movement. So us talking today about Ruby Bridges and things like that, it's very near and dear to me because that was how my parents' childhood was. My parents grew up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, about 45 minutes from Little Rock, Arkansas, when the Little Rock Nine were integrating Central High School. My parents were middle school age at the time. They got married, they moved to Michigan, they had 3 children. My brothers and I grew up going to St. Joe schools because my parents were teaching at Benton Harbor schools. My mom's mom was a teacher, so my mom wanted us to go to a different school than they worked in because my mom's mom worked in her school district when she was growing up and she didn't want us to have that same thing. So I graduated from St. Joe, I went to Michigan State. Following Michigan State, I started working for the state of Michigan for the foster care system. I worked with people that were at their absolute lowest in life. They were hitting rock bottom. They were victims of poverty. They were victims of circumstance. They were victims of society, really. I met a lot of beautiful people who, if they had been given a different circumstance in life, would have had totally different outcomes. And I fought as hard as I could to help as many of the kids as I possibly could. After 15 years of working there, I decided that I wanted to change things. I wanted to work in a setting that I was still helping people, but that was maybe a little less stressful, maybe helped me get rid of the insomnia I'd had for 15 years. And one of my friends who used to work with me at DHS told me to look into LMC. I started working at LMC and shortly after was asked to help with the Start to Finish program. When I started with the Start to Finish program, I knew I had found my spot in life. I was working with kids who were basically the same as my kids that I'd worked with in foster care. Some of them I had actually worked with when they were in foster care, but in a totally different setting, in a setting that was positive, in a setting that was offering them greater circumstances in life if all we could do was focus in and get them through this school. It's funny that Reverend Jim brought up books that stick with you. One of the books that we go through with our students in our CLS 102 summer class that is offered strictly to the students that are part of the Benton Harbor Promise program. It's a class that teaches them about how to be successful in college. One of the books is called The Other Wes Moore, and it's by Wes Moore. In the book, we talk about educational disparities. And one day during our conversation about educational disparities, I said to the students, so imagine if you have two schools. One of the schools has books that are brand new, and another school has books that are 20, 25 years old. At which school do you think the kids are going to get better education? And one of my students said, books? Miss Charmae, we don't have books. And it just broke my heart. The thought of students coming through schools that don't have books or have old books or have limited resources. And I thought to myself that I have a niece and nephew. I don't have kids of my own, but I have a niece and nephew, and I want them to have the best of everything in the world. I want them to have the best, resources, the best facilities, the best education that they can possibly get. But do I think that my niece and nephew deserve better things than other kids? I don't. I think that all children deserve the best. And I think that our society has overlooked that some children are actually children who are worth having the best. I think that all of our children deserve to have safe schools and safe communities and endless opportunities. And I think that when we think of all of our kids as God's children, then maybe we will start to change I'm sorry, my brain just went blank, how we fund schools, how we help communities, and how we offer education to the least of our students. There should never be a least of. So I'm going to tell the story of one of my students. His name is Edwin. And Edwin graduated from the Dream Academy. He was always a smart kid, but he kind of always stayed in trouble. When he graduated high school, he thought he had two choices. One was either go to the military, the other was run the streets. He thought that he was too smart to run the streets, so he joined the military. He found some structure in the military. He was able to become more disciplined. He finished his time in the military and he started taking classes at LMC. At LMC, Edwin was an honor student. He was dedicated to his classes. Coming up towards his graduation at LMC, I talked him into applying to Michigan State. He was really nervous about that. He had never thought that that was something that he could ever do in life, but he said, okay, Ms. Charmae, I'll trust you. I'll do it. So he applied to Michigan State and he said, Ms. Charmae, I've never been there. And I said, well, we'll take you. So we took a group of students to Michigan State, and in the van on the way there, Edwin looked like a deer in headlights. His eyes were this big. He just was nervous. He was fidgeting the whole way there. And that was not his normal personality. So I knew he was very nervous. When we got to Michigan State, I had asked another student from Benton Harbor to be our tour guide that year so that my students would have somebody that they felt comfortable with, somebody that they could ask the questions that they really wanted to ask. And about 15, 20 minutes into the tour, I saw Edwin's eyes go from deer in headlights to all of a sudden going, I can do this. I think I can do this. I saw the moment that that light bulb went off in his eyes. And I knew he was going to go and he was going to be successful. Well, this year I received a text from Edwin, and it was a picture of his letter from Michigan State University saying that he was qualified to graduate. He graduated in May with honors from Michigan State. And right before graduation, he sent me another text with another picture with his letter of acceptance into the Masters of Human Resources and Labor Relations program at Michigan State. I get teary-eyed when I think about it because I think that this was a kid who thought that one of his options in life was running the streets selling drugs and just being out there like many people that he knew in his life. And now he's about to be in a master's program at my alma mater, and my heart could not be prouder. I truly believe that education could be the great equalizer in this country, but we have to believe as a society that all children deserve a great education. And until we do that, I don't think that we will have equality. But when we do, I think that we will see that all these years that we haven't funded some schools or passed other kids on to those gifted and talented programs, that we've missed out on so many great doctors and nurses and teachers, and maybe somebody who could have found the cure for diseases. And when we finally figure that out, that all of these children are God's children and they deserve these opportunities in life, we will have a better society. Thank you.